Hey guys, today I want to talk about the artist's mindset. What do I mean by that? I used to be a musician, a very dedicated musician. In my early phase of my life, there was only one goal in my life, is to continue to improve as a jazz musician. I was playing the electric bass guitar and I would practice, and practice. Because if you know jazz or if you are into any kind of art form, right? Basically, there's no end. There's no like finishing line for you to say, hey, I've made it and I'm good at this, right? Especially for like jazz. And there's endless pursuit of improving yourself. So for example, you could be making your techniques playing better, and you could be improving your improvisation or your hearing, your listening skill, transcription skill, and your capability to play with bandmates together to make the music for enjoyable or more artistically elevated, right? So basically, you never stop learning, you never stop practicing, right? And that's, as a musician, you need to do that. And you need to think about the ways that to shift yourself from the status of not playing to playing, from the state of idle or doing something else to sitting down and playing the instrument. And so I found a couple of ways to reduce my friction, which is I just place the bass guitar next to my chair. For example, a bass guitar sitting on the stand next to my desk, and a bass guitar sitting on the stand next to my couch. Or even when I was serving in the military, I got a very special military service here in Taiwan. Actually, my responsibility was to perform and play bass, but that's another story. So I would just place a bass guitar next to my bed. So whenever when I woke up and I sit on the bedside, I would just pick up the bass just to play. So these are my tips of like minimizing the friction from switching from the state of not playing to playing. Because once you get the bass on your lap, then everything becomes automated, because you encounter the initial friction to get started, then all the momentum, all the actions will follow. Conventionally, people would just protect their bass guitar, their guitars, they put it in the, hard cases or soft gig bags, because here in Taiwan it's very humid, so people would just protect their instruments. But I wanted to minimize their friction, so I would just take them out and just put on the stands whenever I just hold it, right? Usually, if you don't do that, you're gonna pick up the instrument from the bag and you just hook on the cables and just switch on the power amp, and then you strap on the bass guitar on your shoulder, around your shoulder and your neck, then you start playing, right? There are multiple steps. And maybe you need to stand up and walk away to where you place your instrument. So for me, that was a lot of friction. And we are human beings. Sometimes we get lazy if we need to take multiple steps just to perform something. So I would just get the bass always handy to me, so I would just play it. Once they're on my lap, then I put my hands on the fretboard and the other hands onto the strings. And everything just becomes very automatic. So I would just start from scales, or maybe improvising, or maybe I just would play along to some music. Or I would just, when I'm watching YouTube or I'm just doing something else, I would still be playing, just exercising out my hands and fingers, and trying to make playing the default state of my music practice. And fast forward to now, I entered the corporate world for about 15 years, maybe a little bit more than that, and I climbed the ladder, and now I become the strategy director of our corporate business units. And we have, in these business units, we have like over 70,000 of people. We are in a manufacturing business. And myself, as a senior director, as a strategy director, my responsibilities are to make strategy, to make plan, to think about long term, to think long and hard about the risks or the strategic goals we want to do, the key initiatives, the key results, and what is the working system, how do I synergize people and working toward the same goal, right? So I'm really good at making plans. So we make like a 1 year plans, 3 year plan, 5 year plan, and even 10 years plans. And that is all good because that's necessary because we're working together as a big team and we want to make sure everyone understand the purpose, the North Star, and all the short-term and mid-term things that we need to do. But I think many times we overcomplicate things, especially we can get into the state of, analysis paralysis, right? And as human beings, we are the only animals that could have this kind of long-term planning capabilities. So we utilize that capability very often. We would think, we would plan, and we just think about all the implications in our mind, in our imagination, and we spend so much time and energy just thinking about future without really getting things done. Because you can plan out everything, but the most important thing is actually just to make progress, to make things moving, right? So it depends on what you do. If you are a director, you are a manager, then you think out where you want to go with people, with your team, and you think you have a plan. Then the next thing is to just synergize everyone, to synergize your colleagues, your teammates, then everyone fight for the same direction. And or if you are making a very important decision in life, of course you need to sit down and think about it. But then you have a plan, then you have action items, then the most important thing is just to make it happen. That's how I think the artist's mindset will be benefit to many people, is that an artist, because they have the craft and they understand this is endless pursuit, this is the process of making great art. So they will just put their hands dirty, they will just make their hands dirty and to start doing things and let the quantity and build the quantity, and then your quality would just improve, right? So the artist would just, for example, if you're a writer, right, you want to minimize the friction between you not writing to writing. For example, you can just have your notebook open with a pen everywhere you could sit and just think about something. Or even when you're walking, right, you want to have the shortcut from your mobile phone. So just one click away, you can just write down or type down your ideas, right? And that's one thing. And if you are a musician, you want to have your instruments ready. So whenever there's inspiration strikes or whenever you have some free time, you would just switch on to the doing mode. Or if you could be a painter, right? Always make sure the brushes or your canvas is ready. Or even if you draw digitally, your iPad is ready, it's handy whenever you have the most initial thoughts about doing that thing. Just make it, just do it. Otherwise you could get lazy and because we're just human beings and we don't like taking many steps to do something that is too troublesome. So that is a tip that I think where the artist mindset could be very useful. And the reason I'm pondering this is that I started my YouTube creation journey and a couple of months ago, and sometimes I find myself lack of the motivation. And for example, if right now I'm recording, I need to set up my recording gear. I would just need to whip out my phone or my camera, and I just play something. I hook up the microphone, and then I place the receiver on my shirt, and I would just doing some preparation, and then I would just speak. Then this is a lot of trouble step to go through, and I find myself to be resisting to taking all the actions, because this is something that's not really comfortable to me, speaking to a black hole, and trying to say something to make sense. in a language that is not my native language. I'm still practicing English. So I want to minimize these steps. I want to minimize the friction. So now maybe I can show you this. Oh, sorry, this is a little bit dark today. I just put this MagSafe, phone holder. I just attach it to my car glass, front dash glass, and I'll just make sure it's always there. So whenever inspiration strikes, and I just stick on my Pocket 3, or I just stick it on my phone. And sometimes I don't even bother to set up the microphone, because I want to make sure I can enter this recording or speaking state as fast as I could. And that's how I wanted to make it work, just minimize the friction. And sometimes when I'm even not recording something, I would just enter this recording mode. I just read something or just speaking out loud, because speaking and making content is also a craft for me. So I adopt the musician's artist mindset, is to just get going, just get doing, and learn by doing. Learn to improve your craft along the way. Learn this. The best teacher is the action. The best teacher is not always sitting there and analyze everything, because many other things, even people told you so, maybe even people give you some tips or their secrets. But I think a lot of things you need to learn and really get a grasp of what's really going on, and what is the really key points that you need to learn from. I remember my sister, last week we had a dinner, and we were just talking about because she's struggling to develop a habit of going to the gym, right? And me personally, I've been going to the gym for the past 5 years very consistently. I go to the gym like 3 to 4 times a week, and I kind of enjoy the process. I did not enjoy the process at the beginning, but I make it a habit. And maybe that's worth another video to talk about how I become a gym rat. But I told my sister, right, just make sure you put a pair of sneakers next to your sofa, also a pair of socks. So whenever you think about, hey, I needed to go running, I needed to go exercising, once the idea strikes, just tell yourself, the only thing I need to do is put on the shoes and open the door, and the rest will follow. So don't just make plans, say, hey, I'm gonna do I'm gonna run today for 5Ks or 8K or 10Ks, because that's a lot of steps. There's a lot of friction for your mind. Maybe you just persuade your mind, right? Only thing you need to do is put on the shoes and open the door. And once you get the momentum, once you start moving, then you could find magically you started following the next step. Maybe you go downstairs and you go outside and you take a jog, or maybe you start running, right? Or maybe even tell yourself, just start walking 2 steps, 3 steps, 5 steps. And then once you took the first few steps, then you just continue walking, continue jogging, right? I think a couple of years ago, I started to develop, exercising habits. I started from body weight. So I told myself, right, you don't need to do anything, but it just, I was learning push-ups. So I told myself, just crouch down and put your hands on the ground. And then that was a success. And then just do 1 push-up. So usually you tell yourself to do the 1 push-up, but the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and every push-up follows, because you just kick off and started the momentum. Then you will be continue that motions. That's basically become a second instinct. And then that's what I want to share with you. I think at the end, this is the artist mindset, is that maybe I can summarize. First is a growth mindset, right? In this kind of craft in life, there's no end point. So you need to keep learning and need to keep improving your craft by getting action, by getting momentum, right? That's the first point. And the second point is always to minimize the friction from the thing you want to get going, switching from the state of not doing to doing. So think of any ways you possibly could to minimize that friction.